Okay, so what I'm going to do is just give you a quick rundown of how to answer key selection criteria by dissecting what they really are asking for in their key selection criteria, and then brainstorming ideas on how to actually answer it with relevant examples. So in the example I'm going to use today, it's describe a recent achievement, project or task that you are proud of, one that demonstrates achieving results in difficult circumstances. Describe how that achievement contributed to your organisation. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm thinking within the last 5 years, so anything more than that, they're not really interested to hear about. But if it's 6 or 7 years maybe, and it's a massive achievement, then use it. But ideally, it'll be with the last 5 years. I'm just thinking back to when I was working. I was working for a training organisation that had outdated material, like the stuff that the trainers were actually using to teach people about business skills were done before I think computers were actually invented. So I wanted to not work with such material. I wanted to improve it. I was going to do it, whether it and whether I was going to get paid for or not. I just it was my standard. So at the end of the day, I ended up being able to really radically improve their whole content on their training delivery, and the boss was really appreciative, and the students were really appreciative. So I'm going to use that as an example, just as a brainstorming example. So what I'm going to do is answer the question one by one. Describe a recent achievement. So the recent achievement was updating the training material for the business course I once taught at XYZ organisation. So the achieving results. So what the results was, now I always say with results, think about it in terms of the organisation and the stakeholders, like the people who are affected by it. So the results in terms of the organisation was that they had a higher quality content in their training, which basically meant that they were keeping up with what the competitors were offering. The results for the actual students, the participants or the clients, was that they would the content was relevant and practical. For applying to the business world, which they were, at the end of it, they wanted a job. So that was a really good benefit or for a result for the actual clients or the students. Now, the next thing is that they want difficult circumstances. So I'm thinking the difficulty I had in this was that there was zero money to do this. I had to do it just basically with my innovative, like creative ideas. So there was no money, no funds were going to ever be put into the project. No funds had ever been put into the project for the last 5 to 6, 7 years before I came along. So I knew that there was just no money going to get allocated to updating the material. So I said that was a difficult circumstance. And the other one, of course, because they didn't, initially, it looked like they weren't going to put anything towards it. There was no time given to for me to update the training. And then I'll further explain, just because people don't, like the people who are going to be reading my key selection criteria don't know, I had a busy schedule with classes and activities booked, right from 9 AM to finish time. So I had to make it work, squeezing it in between other little things. So it took a long time, but we did it. Describe how that achievement contributed towards your organisation. Yep, I've done that there. The results. So there we go. That's sort of like a brain dump, as I call it. And I would say that that's an example of one that I could use. Try and pick of 3 or 4, just so you can sort of get your creative juices going. You might have, go have a look at yours now. If you want to put this on pause, reread your key selection criteria now, and see if you can think of anything that comes to mind on how your the key selection criteria, what they're asking for. We'll just say there's another one over here, which is really, really complex. Sometimes you get key selection criteria like this and it'll take you a whole page to even answer it. This one is experience in the support of projects. So this is for a project officer, someone who's going to actually help, not the project manager, but the person who's going to actually implement all of the project scope. Experience in the support of projects or components of major projects within time, scope and budget, including administrative support, record keeping, planning, scheduling, implementation, monitoring, in partnerships with internal colleagues, external stakeholders and contracted partners, and post-implementation review. Wow. The answer to this one has to address every single one of those components, would you believe? So this is just one of the examples that you can get when you get onto the key selection criteria creator, and we'll show you an example of how to really answer a question like that. So the thing is, experience in the support of projects, all project or components of major projects. So that would be the first thing. So you're thinking about it. What I would do right now, if this was me, is I'd jot down all the major projects that I've been involved in the last 5 years. So just so you know what you're going to be talking about, or you know what you've got to choose from. And then you've got to think about the time, scope and budget that you had. So they will ask you this in the interview. If they're going to ask key selection criteria like this, they usually will, every point of these key selection criteria will be a point that they'll ask you in the job interview. So it's worthwhile thinking about how you're going to answer it anyway. Including the administrative support, the record keeping, the planning and the scheduling, implementation, monitoring. So that's the other next set. So ideally, if this is one of your key selection criteria, you would have had to have done all the admin and even helping with the planning and the scheduling and the implementation and the monitoring. So if you can give one example where you did all of those things, that's a top grade answer. Okay, so and then you worked within the team, but you also had liaison with all of the external stakeholders, like the clients or suppliers or different companies. Contracted partners, so that's another part of it that you would talk about, like who were you involved with. And you'd have to list those in the answer. And then the post-implementation review is the last bit of your answer. So you'd have to brainstorm what you actually did after you implemented the project, what you actually did after that. And so if you look at your key selection criteria now and break it up like that, you'll know exactly what the formula will be to answering it in the highest quality standard. Okay, so that's another example, but now you have a look at yours, and I will speak with you soon. Get onto it, spend 20 minutes having a look at that, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.